Lesbians have power.
Hello everyone. Hope you are doing well. Welcome to today's episode of the podcast series brought to you by Someone's Daughter 4.0, initiated by the Rotaract Club of the University of Sri Javadanpura. Today we have invited a special person who is a great example of a strong and independent woman. Let me welcome Ms. Nikita Shuhumar, a partner of United Nations Women WEPs Corporate, Head of Humanitarian Services at Seven Seas Holdings Ceylon Private Limited, member of Family Planning Association Sri Lanka, a gender equality activist and women empowerment educator, member of Youth Advisory Committee, and a media personality in India and Sri Lanka. So let us get on with our conversation without a delay. Good evening, Mrs. Nikita. How are you keeping up these days?
Good evening. Thank you so much for having me. I'm doing very well, thank you.
So, madam, who is Miss Nikita Shuhumar? How would you describe yourself?
I'm currently a corporate leader, sexual and gender-based violence prevention technical advisor, gender equality activist, social media personality, and more. I'm also a very proud intersectional feminist who loves Jesus. So majority of the work I do and what I create comes from the empowerment I receive from Jesus paired with the full intersectional feminism is. So that's a little bit about me.
Every person has a story behind their achievement. So, madam, we would love to know about the journey behind your success.
I'm a woman of color with a darker skin tone and also from a minority community in Sri Lanka. So, growing up, I faced a lot of discrimination and gatekeeping. While I always did have a leader inside of me, but I didn't have the access to a platform that gave me the space to exercise my leadership. There were so many occasions where people have harmed me, knowingly for the most and sometimes unknowingly, even when I was so young, before I could even dream and think about what I want to achieve in the future. They silenced me for being assertive as a young girl of color, claiming I was aggressive. They shut down my opportunity to lead as a young girl, claiming I was not submissive enough. They tried to cover my truth as a young girl, claiming I was difficult. They tried to take away my space as a young girl, claiming I was too much. They wanted me to stop asking difficult questions as a young girl by claiming I was making things awkward. What I learned through all the violence I faced was that it was never really about what I did or what I could achieve, but it was always about who I was. It was about me being a woman, and that too paired with my nationality, my ethnicity, my age, religion, and other intersecting identities, that those deeply engaged with the lies of patriarchy deemed as less than. If a woman is assertive, she is said to be aggressive. If a woman wants to lead, she is seen as someone not submissive enough. If a woman wants to speak the truth, she is seen as someone making things difficult. If a woman wants to ask important questions, she's seen as someone who makes the room feel uncomfortable. Thankfully, my parents and grandparents didn't believe in that kind of oppression. Since day one, they've always believed in equality, and that's how I was brought up. Even in terms of my skin tone, I didn't really have a big problem with it because growing up, I used to watch movies that had African American actors, like even the Cinderella movie with Brandy and Whitney Houston. So I didn't have a problem with my skin tone, but definitely people around me did. But my family always stood up for me, even when society would try to discourage me and kill my dreams just because of my identity and how I look. However, I did feel confused and very much hopeless on many occasions because of the norms and opinions of society. And no matter what our family says, even when we grow up, we do really care about what society says and what our friends think and what people around us think. There's so much of pressure. So it was really during around that time that I got to know about the words of affirmation from the Bible, and it claimed that we were all equals, full stop. So it doesn't matter which gender, ethnicity, nationality we are, our appearance doesn't matter. Nothing really does, because to God we're all one. And that's when I realized nothing was impossible for me, because we are all equals. And really reading more about it, it helped me keep pushing through every awful challenge I faced, because now I knew that I could still go far ahead in the game, despite what people kept telling me. And that's what happened. It's very clear that's what happened. So I'm mentioning this because I want to encourage anyone else who's going through the same thing to keep pushing through, regardless of limitations, because you can do it and nothing is impossible. So, yeah, that's a little bit about my journey.
So, my next question is, throughout your journey, did you ever feel like being a woman is a challenge to go forward in the world compared to men?
Yes, absolutely. What I've seen in both Sri Lanka and overseas is that many organizations and industries claim to be diverse. But what they mean by that is they've only employed people from various backgrounds, but that's not enough. Just employing people, saying I have a lot of women working with me, that's not enough. Diversity is not the same as inclusion. You might have heard this before, but diversity is being invited to the party, whereas inclusion is being asked to dance. As a woman, you're always expected to blend in, and there's so much gatekeeping and discrimination that gets in the way. We should be given equal recognition and opportunities to not just be employed, but also to be at top senior levels. We need women in places of authority. We need the words of women to be the final say and not just be given the bare minimal duties. So, yes, of course, I have noticed gender get in the way.
As you know, today we are primarily hoping to talk especially about teen suicides and stress among girls. So, we would like to enter into this topic starting by asking your views on the present situation of this issue.
Right now, we are in the middle of a pandemic, so of course, we are experiencing magnified amounts of stress and even being pushed to consider suicide. It is a challenging time, and we've never experienced anything like this. We don't know how exactly to navigate this while maintaining the stability we are used to. Teenagers and young adults, especially, need some sort of stability for the future, to dream and to work towards something they love. And that's one major way we make sense of the world and our lives. I'm not saying that's the only way, but it is important to each one of us. And right now, that's very difficult because we don't know what's to come. And that's kind of shaken the foundations that many of us have held on to while leading our lives before COVID hit us. So, not being able to cope with this and not having a healthy support system and still being pressured by societal expectations does lead to contemplating suicide and, even going ahead with it.
Okay, madam. If you have any experience to share with us that relates to this topic, this is your time for that.
Yes, absolutely. I am more keen on talking about survivors of sexual and gender-based violence. There are several other reasons, but I just want to focus on this alone. First of all, there are so many misunderstandings about SGBV, such as myths that blame the victim. It's never the victim's fault. We shouldn't be shaming survivors into feeling like the violence that happened to them was something they brought upon themselves, and that's not true. And claiming something like that would, of course, falsely make them feel like a burden and lead to suicide. They should be handled with utmost love and support to help them overcome the trauma they've faced. I've also seen there's not enough weight given to the importance of body autonomy within our community. Everyone behaves like they've got a say when it comes to the lifestyle and choices of women. For example, even when it comes to the clothing we wear, if the outside world is given so much authority to dictate what is appropriate for a woman to wear, that would mean she doesn't have ownership over her own self. And if she doesn't even have ownership over her own self, how can we expect her to go out into the world, into the workplace, take ownership there, and truly live a work that makes her feel, truly live a life that makes her feel fulfilled? When you're not given the space to truly explore yourself and be your authentic self, it's definitely suffocating. I've also noticed instances where someone shares their story and the violence they've faced, and their experience is completely invalidated and brushed off like it doesn't matter. That's an awful thing to do. As a community, we need to stop being afraid to openly have conversations about trauma, get rid of the stigma, and be willing to support survivors of trauma. Yeah, that's what I think.
Do you think that there are any social impacts for these teenage girls' suicide cases? According to your opinion, if your answer is yes, then I would like to ask what are the impacts that are coming from the society to create such cases?
Yeah, ask, if you're a girl or a woman, ask yourself, are you the lead role or the side role in your own life? This season, take complete authority and ownership over your own life. You no longer need to play the side role in your own life. You are the star and you lead your journey. Your voice needs to be the loudest, and you don't need to be swayed by horrible opinions anymore, opinions that break you down and discourage you, because now on, you need to be the leader and the star of your life, and you take ownership and you decide what's for you and what's not for you. Take that step now. I would also encourage you to give yourself the best and your first as an act of love for yourself. Do you happen to give both your tangible gifts and intangible gifts to others first and keep the leftovers for you? This could be your time, your energy, your money, and so on. Spend all of that first on you, to love yourself, to value yourself, and then think about others. I mean, thinking about others is that's really a great way to live, and we should. But first, think about you and choose to love yourself first. I don't mean be selfish, but what I mean is don't be so selfless to a point where you lose who you are. And use your gifts meaningfully and grow in empowerment. I would also say, like I mentioned before, take ownership of your own life. Your character and your personality is not meant to be locked up while the traits of others are shining through your being. You need to be your authentic self. You need to be your authentic self and who you truly are. Many may have tried to mold you to be a certain way, to be a person who they are comfortable with, but your energy doesn't need to match their insecurity. You get to shine, and no one should be given the authority to limit you and suffocate you. And live your life to the fullest. Value the concept of life. What I'm about to say was such a game changer for me. You are a soul with a body and not a body with a soul. So your life is essentially a gift, and it could be lost in a moment. It's too precious for you to waste trying to satisfy irrelevant individuals or systems that would love to see you captive and limited. Neither is it worth it to just lose that gift because of everything you're going through, because you couldn't live a life that you wanted. So choose yourself. If you have the privilege to make that choice, choose yourself. And I also want to say how there is a time for everything. When you're going through high levels of stress and pressure, it often feels like your time's up. But that is false. That is not true. It's not over. Your time is coming.
So, my next question is, how can a girl face such problematic situation strongly after subjected to such pressure from the society without resorting to an option like suicide?
Please do reach out to me if you'd like me to connect you with any well-recommended mental health professionals, I'll be so happy to do that. There's always more than enough support available for you, so please do reach out.
Okay, madam. Then I would like to ask that what is the responsibility of a society in preventing teenage girls from committing suicide?
As a community and society, we should reframe some of our beliefs and behavior that still upholds a culture of shaming women and glorifying the patriarchy. We need to think before we judge someone and blurt out words that are so harmful. We need to be a generation that takes a moment to converse about mental health and acknowledge the trauma our loved ones may have faced, and have the patience to truly listen. There's a difference between simply hearing and truly listening deeply. You don't necessarily need to have all the answers to everyone's problems, but you can still be there for them. We are all going through a tough journey, so the least we can do for one another is to love more within the capacity we have.
Finally, madam, this is your time to give a valuable message to the entire youth.
I just want to reiterate, I am very grateful to see so many mental health services available across Sri Lanka. So if you have been contemplating suicide, or you are facing high levels of stress and anxiety, and anything that's making you feel uncomfortable, please do reach out to them. You can also reach out to me on Instagram. My username is my full name, Nikita Shuhumar, and I will personally connect you with the support you need.
So, that will be the end of today's episode. Madam, we thank you for sharing your precious time with us. We had a great time with you, and we hope that all our viewers will be inspired by you.
Thank you so much for having me.
So, stay tuned with us until we see you in the next episode. Hit the like button and do not forget to follow our Someone's Daughter Facebook and Instagram pages as well. Have a good day and stay safe.
Let men have power.